Georgia prosecution of Trump aides over the 2020 election. Mark Meadows and Jeffrey Clark have both pleaded with the judge to prohibit District Attorney Fani Willis from arresting them by a Friday deadline. I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. According to Politico, a federal judge quickly shot down Wednesday by two former Trump administration officials, Mark Meadows and Jeffrey Clark, to derail the criminal proceedings against them in Fulton County, where they're charged alongside Donald Trump with a sprawling racketeering conspiracy to subvert the results of the 2020 election. In two six-page rulings by Atlanta-based U.S. District Court Judge Stephen Jones effectively ensures that Meadows and Clark will face arrest this week, a result both men attempted to prevent in a series of emergency filings. Meadows and Clark have both pleaded with Jones to prohibit District Attorney Fani Willis from arresting them by a Friday deadline for the 19 defendants to turn themselves in. Both men say their cases should be handled but ultimately dismissed by federal courts because of their work for the Trump administration. Jones, an appointee of President Barack Obama, sided with Willis's arguments that the law governing so-called removal of state criminal cases to federal court make quite clear that those proceedings can continue while a federal judge considers whether it is appropriate to shift the cases into the federal system. Until the federal court assumes jurisdiction over a state criminal case, the state court retains jurisdiction over the prosecution and the proceedings continue, Jones wrote. The clear statutory language for removing a criminal prosecution does not support an injunction or temporary stay prohibiting District Attorney Willis's enforcement or execution of the arrest warrant against Meadows, the judge added in his decision on Meadows' motion. The judge noted that the relevant provision of federal law can mean that defendants are not only arrested but sometimes can even put on trial while motions to move their cases to federal court are pending. The court's research has found that the statute has been followed even in cases where a criminal defendant who had filed a notice of removal in federal court was required to proceed to trial in the state court, Jones noted. Less than 2 hours before Jones's ruling, Willis submitted filings arguing forcefully against the efforts by Meadows and Clark to obtain the court's emergency intervention. There is simply no basis, she said, for a federal court to sideline state proceedings just because two of the defendants had sought an urgent transfer of their cases. Federal courts have repeatedly denied requests to interfere in state criminal prosecutions. Willis's team noted in the 13-page response to the effort by Meadows, who served as White House Chief of Staff during the last 9 months of Trump's term. Generally, only in cases of proven harassment or prosecutions, taken in bad faith without hope of obtaining a valid conviction in federal intervention against pending state prosecutions appropriate. Willis also noted that Trump himself, Meadows' former boss, voluntarily agreed to surrender himself to state authorities, while other defendants have already surrendered. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender, never quit.